Hi, beautiful souls. It's Tan, and welcome back to this Astrology, Human Design, and Jinkies channel. And I'm here today with Cindy, who is, of course, an astrologer and a human design guide on the Tan Astrology team, and one of my sisters in our soul tribe. So, yes, we're here today with a human design video today talking about each of the lines in human design and what are some of the characteristics of each of the lines. And based off of those characteristics, what are then their needs in relationships? So, the main focus of today is sort of on the relationship for each of the lines. So, by the way, I've already made some videos on my channel to talk about lines and profiles and human design as well. So if you guys are interested, you can also check out that video in addition to this one. So I'll provide a link in the description box below. And yeah, you can watch all of them. So yeah, Cindy, on to you today. What do you have for us with regards to each of the lines and their relationship style, maybe? What they need in relationships?
Yes, so I would like to talk with you today about on the one side, the superpowers, or like the most important information about each of the lines. And then go from here into the relationship topic and what does this line really need in a relationship? What are they craving for? So I would start with the first line, which is, of course, the foundational line of the lower trigram. And in the traditional human design, it is called the investigator. In quantum human design, it's the resource. So what is the first line all about? The first line, or if you have the first line, then you're a very curious character. You want to go really deep into information. And with this like depth in going into all different kind of matters that are of interest for you, you help others to understand the world, everything that is happening in the world in a deeper sense. So for the first line, it's really important to first understand and then move forward. Like this, they're building a secure and a stable foundation. And like this, they're building kind of the safety for all of us. And I think you know that. I mean,
yeah, I'm a first line myself, so yeah, I can understand where everything you said just resonates a lot with needing to understand something before moving forward with it. Research and that kind of thing is a first line thing. Yes. And I would even say to have some kind of stability or base or foundation in life to come back to and retreat or ground themselves as a first line is important. Like maybe their own space or their own home that's a little bit more stable to ground. Also important, yeah.
Yes. And I think after all, I mean, they're the investigators. So maybe you have some experience with that. I think for them, it is really important before they enter a relationship to really take time to get to know the other person so that they can really kind of investigate and explore the other one in order to decide whether it actually feels right to go into this relationship or not, or if we're talking about a romantic relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if other first lines are going to relate, but it's like for me, for example, I feel like maybe I need to, research this person on social media or on Google or something first, just to see, to see the variety of different ways of looking at this person, because you can be seeing them in person in one way, but maybe they've got something else that they're sort of maybe not yet sharing with you. And the first line's gonna be like, I'm gonna dig that up and see what this person may not be telling me yet, but they are somehow sharing it somewhere else on other social media platforms and things like that. And I think for the first line, it's also like maybe important that they get to know, like in relationships, like in romantic relationships, get to know their partner's families and to really understand this person's roots and where they're coming from. And, sometimes if a first line is not doing that, they may just skip something that's really important for them and then realize later on that that person didn't have what they were looking for but they also didn't look or get to know that person's family in the first place.
Yes, that's interesting. That really makes sense. I think that's also with the personal integration that they need, like this internal process of, okay, going through all the information, everything that they learned, and then they see the world through this kind of internal process, which is different to like the upper trigram, what we're going to talk later about.
Interesting.
So
is there anything else you want to add with like maybe what they need in a relationship when they are actually in a relationship with someone?
If they are in a relationship with somebody else, then the other person actually is important to understand that they really have to give them the time to build a safe foundation, let's say, like, because in order to enter into an intimate state, they really need to take that time of investigation before. Of course, I mean, there's also a shadow side. Like if you really want to if you get stuck in kind of just investigating and not moving forward because you're kind of scared maybe, so you procrastinate because it doesn't feel really safe. So you always have to distinguish where this feeling is coming from, to, okay, like I need time to decide, or is there something that happened in the past that is making me now not moving forward?
Yeah.
So, and having then the support from the other person is crucial for them and for a stable, committed relationship.
What do you mean by the support? What kind of support?
For, like, let's say the understanding of the other person, so that they really give them the time to do their investigation and like don't push them. Or maybe the other person is scared, like, oh my god, what is she gonna find out when she's investigating?
Yeah, and I think maybe also the first lines, because they investigate the other, they also maybe, I mean, depends, but I think some of them may also want to be investigated as well. Like they want to be seen deeply. They want the other person to kind of reciprocate and like, and I know you very deeply. I've, looked into what you are made up of, and I would like that same or similar kind of recognition or, love. Because that would be how they love, right? They love by like, okay, I know you. That's how I love you. And I want to be known. I want to be understood as well. I like that.
Yes. And because the understanding or the expertise of the first line is rooted in their like investigation or in their research, what they are doing. So I think the other partner should also always validate that, because sometimes there are kind of power struggles in a relationship and we kind of compete, like who's smarter or whatever. And I think for a first line, it's crucial, like to be understood and like that the other partner is validating their knowledge. Yes, I sometimes have the feeling that they maybe even subconsciously taking this time alone when they go into this phase of researching and interrogating. So they might not even be really conscious of, okay, I need my alone time, but the body and the mind is taking it anyway because they want to go really deep. So the second line, or the name of the name of the second line in the traditional human design is the Hermit. In the quantum human design, it's called the Responder. And it is, as well as the first line, an intrapersonal line. So they're also learning through their own internal processes. The second line, they're kind of integrating knowledge and wisdom and wait for the readiness of others to call them out. Because we know that the second line is that line which is basically sitting in the first floor, like behind windows. Everything is dark outside, but inside there's light. So that all the people that are passing by outside, they can watch inside and see what the second line is doing. So if you are a second line, or if you have a second line in your conscious or unconscious side, then you probably already experienced that people are calling you out in a way that they are telling you what you can do really well. Like it's also called a natural talent, the second line. It's just something is coming naturally to them, where other people are thinking, wow, like how is he or she doing that? That's insane. And for this person, it's just normal. So they're kind of a natural genius in some things.
Yeah.
But there's also always this inward projection, like from other people, taking in, like listening what other people are saying about you, showing you kind of the direction, the path you should be heading towards.
Oh, would you say in that case, like second lines are open for guidance and feedback then?
Yes. And I mean, I have the second line in my subconscious, and if I'm conscious about it, then I see that if other people are telling me something what I'm good at, first it's like being shy, and I think that's the second line as well, like, oh no, that's like everyone can do that. But then if you kind of trust more and go deeper into the things that other people are telling you what you are good at, then you naturally find the way through, I don't know, the indecisiveness of a second line as well. Like, oh, what should I do? Okay, I'd rather hide and I don't know what to do. But then it's like, okay, I actually follow the lead, or not the lead, but what other people are thinking about me. Of course, I always have to reflect a little bit as a second line. Like, is that really true what those people are telling me, or is it not true? Why do I think it's not true? I think for every line there's like the thin line between, okay, is it true, is it not true? Let's see what is behind. But then taking time to discover about what other people are telling about the second line. So what the second line needs in a relationship is, number one, really this alone time, because alone time is a necessity for them to kind of recalibrate their energy, and it kind of keeps them healthy. So the second line loves to retreat alone or together with another person is possible as well, like with the partner, if they really feel like, okay, we can retreat together, like right now our energies are compatible, it feels good, okay, let's spend some time away from everything else, but we can be together. So this can actually, for a second line, even strengthen the bonds of the relationship, I would say.
Would you say, like, I feel like the second line might also need a lot of passion in relationships as well, because that's what they are. I mean, the second line would, like you said, have natural gifts and natural talents, and that comes with passion to do it, you know? So I think that would be something important in their relationships. What do you say about that?
Yes, that's true, because the first line and the second line, I would say they are more like physical or physically oriented. And then we have like the third, fourth line, which is more emotionally connected. And then we have the fifth and the sixth line that is more mentally oriented, let's say. So the second line with this natural gift, yeah, it's true, like the passion probably behind is driving them as well. So, and through this passion, through the physical experience that is like happening in the body, when you feel, okay, you can you're really good at something, then I think this is the force behind them mastering their crafts. So, and for this they need time without interruption. So, and that's, I think, important for a person that is in a relationship with a second line. Like, try to set up a to-do list or like a time frame of all the tasks every day, that you don't interrupt this flow of the second line.
Nice. Yeah, that's interesting, because they have that ease and flow. I kind of like to look at the second line like water, like river or something like that. So like
Yes.
yeah, you don't want to interrupt that, but you want to make sure you have a path for it to go down so you can spend time together in that sense. Yeah, I want to go back to the thing about passion a little bit, because I think maybe it's not so clear for me at this point. What do you interpret as passion in a relationship as a second line yourself?
Oh, I think there's so much more to it than checking at the lines of the human design. I think then it also depends, which you know even better than I do. Like, I don't know, are you an Aries, for example, or are you, I don't know, Gemini, where they can find passion probably also through mental activities, let's say, whereas for maybe a fire sign, it's like more passionate to be physically attracted to somebody, or so. I think that there are differences, but everyone, I mean, if we break it down, it's kind of this internal motivation, I would say, or the drive behind something that is pushing you to do what you really enjoy.
I like to associate the second line actually with infatuation in some sense. And I feel like maybe that's something that they kind of need in a little bit in their relationships, as well as feeling that initial like desire or infatuation-ness within somebody. And of course, we all feel that at some point, of course. But I think for the second line, they want to continue, even maybe many years into a relationship, to ignite that romance, to ignite that desire again. Because I know, like, for me, I don't have a second line. I don't have a lot of second line in my chart, actually. And so, of course, I can have that feeling of infatuation at the beginning of a relationship, just like all of us. But then as time goes by, for me, it's other things that's more important than igniting the romance. I think, of course, I would like to ignite the romance from time to time, but I think it's a lot less than other people would. So, yeah, I don't know how you have something to share about that.
Yeah. My experience for the second line, or I think I can relate this to the second line, is if you have like this relaxed state of naturalness where you can really feel, you can talk with your partner about everything, you can express yourself freely, like, which makes the second line being in this natural flow. This is the most important, or one of the most important things.
I like that you put it like that, the ease of being able to communicate and do things together.
And I think there is also a shadow state, actually. I mean, there is good and bad in everything, but for a second line, that can also be that you are focusing too much on the other person, like without fulfilling your own need, actually. So, and in the end, this will come back to blaming the other person and like, oh, but you are responsible for I don't know, that I am now I'm out of my natural flow, or
right.
you understand, it's tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I've also noticed the second line having maybe outbursts of anger that comes there, because they're like a volcano. They flow like that. And so sometimes they repress something and then they blame another person, and their anger comes out in the form of like blaming as well. So I think it's also important for the second line to, not deny their feelings, not deny the fact that, okay, there's something going on, there's some feelings going on, and spend time looking into that. Also, not deny when they are blaming another person. Is to like take their relationship as a mirror to see who they really are, what their personality is really like, and things like that. Yeah.
So the third line in traditional human design is the martyr. In the quantum human design, it's the explorer. And it's still part of the lower trigram. As we said, it's learning through their own internal process, but it's more emotion-based. What that means, what this means, I will explain later. So the third line is here to explore and experience possibilities, and then to share them with the rest of the world. So they're actually protecting and saving the other people around them, or not saving, but kind of serving them with their experiences, let's say. So the third line is a constant trial and error, which actually I love that. I mean, because so many people, they always think, oh, I did this mistake in life and this was wrong. But in the end, I think, especially for a third line, they become experts in their fields based on their experiences. And this is beautiful. So they can show us what is working and what doesn't work. And if the other person is taking it or not, doesn't matter. I mean, maybe it's also third line has to go through their own experiences as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, and I think I can feel a little bit here that the third lines would have a lot of those, I'm just gonna try to date this person kind of energy in there. As a third line myself, I remember really funny story that when my first ever boyfriend, my mom was like asking, why do you like this guy? Why do you want to be, his girlfriend? I was like, I just want to try. And she's like, you can't just try to be in a relationship with somebody. And I was just like, I just want to see what it's like. I just want to try. So, third line would be kind of like maybe, dating somebody that maybe they don't really, would never usually, it's like not their type or whatever. They would be the type to do that. The profile to do that, the line to do that. And then they would be like, just because I should be able to experience that and see the totality of human beings or of relationships.
Yes, I like that. That's so third line.
Yeah.
And I think I have the same, like having or being in the third line as well now. It's like what I have tried so many things and I stopped doing so many things. Like I started and stopped. I tried. Oh, I saw, oh no, that's not for me. That's unfortunate, but okay, I have to move on to the other thing.
Yeah.
And then really, I think don't get caught up in the thoughts that maybe somebody, or especially like parents, for example, or family, they could kind of like judge you for that you start and stop or start and not finish or whatever, because this is just the third line.
Yeah.
And to see the beauty in that, I think it sometimes it's difficult, but it is important.
Yeah, and I think the third line has to learn to laugh at themselves and laugh at their experiences as well, and not take it as so serious and then feeling shameful of it. I guess, that's the martyr. That's how you turn the martyr energy into something beautiful, is learning to laugh at yourself and the various different things that you have done. And other people, sometimes they just kind of think that they don't take you as seriously as you might think or as you might take yourself. So it's important to not feel shame that you tried that relationship or tried that thing and it's like it didn't work, or you've just seem to jump around maybe from one relationship to the next without completing its cycle. That's okay. Like that's just a part of what you're doing to learn.
Yes, like this playful curiosity. I think this is what I love in the third line. And that they're really like they are in this discovery mode, and then in the end they take responsibility for their feelings or for their emotions that are coming up in any way on their journey, like whether it is shame or guilt. Like that's something we have to be aware of in order to transform this actually into seeing the beauty in those things. And what I saw, what is helping third lines in the relationship is that because they also have in their day-to-day life, they have this attitude or like the personality which really likes that there are bonds made and broken. So, and to really integrate this into the relationship doesn't mean that you have to like start and stop or have a new partner, new partner. It's just that you integrate this into your daily life. And you also take time like for freedom and take your own space. You might even want to sleep alone for a couple of days if you feel like, just to also get this own space feeling here into the relationship.
Yeah, so I guess that bonds made and bonds broken is applied in a healthy relationship for third line by space as well. And maybe traveling alone for a couple of weeks without your partner, if you live together, then maybe you need to be able to do that. So the distance makes your heart grow fonder. That's kind of the third line quote. Yeah.
Yes. And also in an intimate relationship, I think because of they like to discover, like just give them the space to fantasize about maybe different consensual ways how to be intimate, and accept this. Like if your partner's a third line, like talk with them about it, give them the space to express their needs and their wants, their fantasies about how they would like the relationship to be, and just support them in their discovery mode, I would say.
Yeah. Because like the third line can have that energy of maybe the grass is greener on the other side. It's a little bit like that. Doesn't mean that they're going to go on the other side, but they just like to think about that and maybe share that with you, and then feel like it's okay to share that what if, kind of scenarios with the third line.
Yes. The fourth line is the opportunist, or in quantum human design, the stabilizer. And it is the foundation of the upper trigram. So the fourth, fifth, and sixth lines, they are experiencing their life, let's say, or through the relationship to other people. Like they have this transpersonal learning process, we can call it like this. And the superpowers of the fourth line, they are here to really build up a liberate foundation of the community. So the fourth line is really preparing the path for everyone else to share and spread their ideas within a community, or within like a group of people, however. So the community is really important, or the kind of people the fourth line is spending their time with is very crucial for them. So they kind of understand the world through their relationships and their connections in life.
I also find fourth line people to be very warm to approach and very friendly. There's this element of friendliness and warmth at the basis of the way they relate to people, which is quite nice.
Yes. I think this is when, or I would say that this is probably if they are acting out the fourth line in their light in their like light expression, or not in the shadow
higher
state.
frequency, maybe higher energy.
Yes, exactly, that in their higher frequency. Because I've also met fourth lines, and I would probably say this was the shadow state, and they're very plucked, or they kind of give you the attitude of, okay, here until here and on no further. It's kind of like they reject you. And but I think this is just how they're dealing with their fear of being rejected, because this is the shadow state of the fourth line. So they rather reject you instead of taking the risk to be rejected.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like the fourth line is very heart-centered, and so their heart can be closed off before you could hurt or break their heart.
Yes.
So they can appear to be, they're not necessarily, would you say they're cold? And when they're in the lower energy, I don't say it's maybe not really cold, but maybe it's just more of like unreachable or something like that.
Yes. It's like they're closing down, kind of, or like they have some barriers, or like literally spoken, maybe you can feel their barriers around the heart. Like it's really hard to to enter their heart because of like whatever happened in their life, and this made them to kind of close themselves a little bit more. But yeah, as you said, usually they're really warm people, and they really have the ability to connect people.
Yeah.
What they need in a relationship is really that sense of security. They need a stable foundation, and they need consistency in life. So they're not friends with change. Like they feel very uncomfortable if there are changes happening in their life. So they have to learn how to deal, because of course, like, life is not consistent. So there will always be changes. Like, how can you become warm with the changes that are happening around you in your life?
And I think the fourth line also needs, that kind of warmth coming from their partner as well, that openness, that heart connection coming from another person. I don't know how you would describe a heart connection, but just like that feeling of like, the heart is connected in that sense.
Yes. I think the fourth line is the perfect example for how a relationship should be built, actually. I mean, we have like, for a committed relationship, there must be like, kind of, we're building a house, and first we're digging the hole, let's say, and then we put all the fundaments and the pillars or the walls in. So these are the fundaments. This is trust and friendship in a relationship.
Yes. And I think trust is a really good word for the fourth line there that you brought up. Yeah.
Yes. They really need to trust their partner, and they need time to build this friendship with the partner in order to be more intimate, in order to like build up the relationship higher and higher. So, but first these fundaments need to be met. And then you can come with sex or making love or whatever, and build on top of this whatever you want to build, like build a skyscraper or build whatever. But first the fundaments have to be stable. And the fourth line is a perfect example for that.
Oh, onto the fifth line. Not the easiest to be in a relationship with, I think.
No. So the fifth line is the heretic, or the visionary leader. So it is here, the fifth line, to guiding others with their practical wisdom that they have gained during their lifetime. And a conscious fifth line serves as kind of a karmic mirror. And we know that, like, depends on the people who are reaching out or approaching the fifth line. They will either see in you the savior or the demon. It's kind of depending on their own projection. But if the fifth line is unconscious, or like, not doesn't mean like on the unconscious side, but if a fifth line person is not aware of their interaction with others, then they can be in the shadow state, and then they blame others. Like, it's everything that is happening in their life is because of others. Like, it's all others' fault, let's say, that can be difficult in a relationship. And I think here the partner who is with a fifth line is like, has a huge role to play in order to help the fifth line to go through this projection field of others. Like, because then the fifth line can try to live up to other people's expectations, even though it's not theirs to fulfill those expectations. It's just, the fifth line is just here to kind of mirror back the pain and maybe the insecurities of the person that is in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing about the fifth line. The irony, the paradox of the fifth line. They want to be the person that gets to save the world, but in a romantic relationship, they don't want to save you. They want you to somehow be able to save them. But at the beginning of the relationship, they want to save you. So they fall in love with you by being able to save you and being like a savior. But then later on in the relationship, they don't want to do that anymore. They want to also know that you are going to be there for them. You are going to save them. So they have this like this mirror thing going back and forth, this really interesting dynamic going that you have to really be able to understand about the fifth line. And this is just a really simple way of explaining it. This is like what I've noticed. So I think they really need a partner who is very capable and who doesn't play this martyr savior role with them, to have a healthy relationship with the fifth line. Because, at the beginning, they're always kind of like, I'm there for you. It kind of boosts their confidence in a way when they can be there, they can save you, and then they get tired. And they start to feel like, well, I'm also saving the whole world, and I have to save my partner as well. And so when that comes up, like you have to, if you're in a relationship with them, like not drain or not drag that from them more, and then be able to stand on your own, 2 feet without needing them. Kind of like that.
This is so true. I think fifth lines are pretty good in hiding. Like, like hiding.
Who's better, second line or fifth line?
So they also need to cultivate the courage to be vulnerable. And I think that is very difficult for a fifth line.
Yeah.
They are truly seen by their partner, and that they can reveal their needs. I think for this, a fifth line needs a lot of time and a lot of like bonding to their partner. And I'm not sure, but I think that there is always this underlying self-worth issue that a fifth line, I mean, that's a common problem of society, I would say. But I have the feeling that for a fifth line, this is even more intense because of all these projection fields that are around them. It's kind of difficult for them to distinguish, is this now my fault that this person is like this, or that this person has these problems in life, or why I couldn't help them, why I couldn't save them, or things like this. So the time to be alone is really crucial for the fifth line as well. So to get out of this judgment and projection zone of others and into your own aura and energy.
I love that you brought up the vulnerability, difficulty in vulnerability, because it's like sometimes the fifth line still thinks that they have to be the savior in a relationship, or fix whatever that's happening with the other person, or fix something in the relationship, because they're capable of doing that. They can find solutions to problems, practical solutions to problems, which is, of course, their superpower. But sometimes they feel they have to take it all onto themselves, even though the other person is sending them a message that that's not the case, or, I can fix this problem too, I can do this too. But somehow the fifth line can be stubborn. I can be kind of like, okay, but, and it's kind of like maybe it's coming from that self-worth, that they still feel like they have to take on that role of the problem solver in some ways.
Yes. And sometimes they probably also close themselves off of what is happening in the outside. So they are rejecting things that are happening in the outside world. And then they can become dogmatic about things because they don't trust to open themselves up and see the bigger picture. Whereas in the higher expression, they are actually here to really have this visionary wisdom, this collected wisdom of like different opinions, and having, or also giving those perspectives to the world. And so maybe the partner with it, or who is in a relationship with the fifth line, is also here to kind of show them sometimes, like if they are in the shadow state, like also to be the mirror for the fifth line in a relationship as well, and help them to open themselves up again to not being so dogmatic, for example, but
Yeah. There's also a theme of power with the fifth line. And I feel that to explore power in relationships is also really important for them in however way they may want to interpret that. And of course, there could be healthy ways of exploring power in a relationship where both people have consent and they agree to explore this part of relationship with regards to power. So I think a partner of the fifth line, is going to have to really understand that that exploration is going to be important for them in some ways.
The sixth line is the role model, or in quantum human design, it's called the adept. It is the last transpersonal line of the whole hexagram, let's say, or yes. And the sixth line, they are having the feeling that they have to fulfill a mission or a purpose when they grow older. And so they have actually constantly kind of the thought that, oh my God, I don't have enough time in this lifetime to do this. I've heard that from so many sixth lines that they have like this time pressure, and like they know that actually, I mean, time is not existing, but still like they have this urge to do something in the world, but then not having enough time.
Yeah.
And they are actually here to offer perspective and guidance as we are heading towards the new era, let's say. So they're here through the 3 stages in life that they're having to first experience as a third line, then integrate, and then demonstrate of what is actually possible in a conscious world. And
yeah, could I just ask you a question, since you are a sixth line yourself, and how you feel about this? Because I've known some sixth lines who don't actually go through that third line stage. I mean, human design says the first 30 years, they go through this trial and error phase. But I've known some sixth lines who don't do that. They don't try, they don't go through the trial and error. They, pretty much have, like, for example, the same job throughout their life, or in a very long relationship, throughout their life, or they don't change their perspective or they don't travel, there's no like third line energy coming in. So I'm wondering if the 30 years third line of the sixth line is somehow different from the third line's life in some ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I also tried to understand that a little bit more, but what I saw is that maybe like the older generations, I think they grew up differently. They didn't really have time to be in this third role. Like they finished school and then they had to choose what their profession is, and then they started to work, and there was no acceptance there. If you would say, I don't actually like what I'm doing, can I do something else? I mean,
yeah, so you mean like if the sixth line doesn't go through that third line phase, they may not be living out their full potential in some ways.
Yes. And I think that is something that we should actually experiment, or like do our studies on, in the upcoming years, to really see how the sixth line is playing out. Because I met also some sixth line projectors, for example, if they're in their 60s or 70s, and they didn't really fulfill what they wanted. They go into the state of bitterness. And so I thought, okay, it could be a generational theme as well, because they were not really able to fully live into this third line at their time of when they were in their 30s. But it could also, I saw, for example, some 4-6 profiles. They didn't go through this third line stage. So I don't know if it makes a difference if the sixth line is more unconscious, or in the unconscious, and then they don't really allow or listen to that inner voice sometimes that is telling them, oh, but look, you should maybe try something else. Or they're just pushing away this sense for experimenting, and rather go into the comfort and stability of the fourth line. So maybe they have a stable job, they have their community around them. Why should I change that?
That's possible, yeah. Yeah, something to ponder on as well.
I think for a sixth line, and I mean, I'm also in my experimental phase with the sixth line. I think that they need different things in the different stages. Like in the first stage, of course, they are like very impatient, I would say, or at least for me, I now it's getting better, but I was very impatient. I was like wanted everything now or better yesterday.
Right.
And
Okay, but I don't want to give out the wrong idea to people that if you are a third line, you would be impatient throughout the rest of your life because you just have that third line for your life. So I don't want to give out that message to people either. But yes.
No, just like in the 30 years, because you just want to try so many things. And there are, for example, I met many 1-3 profile people who have like 20, at least 20 different jobs in their lives, or also in the first 30 years, even though like they're not a sixth line, but it's just like this experimental phase in the 20, like from 20 to 30, where you like change so much and you want to see.
Yeah, I guess
Can
that
you
just gets a
relate?
little bit more emphasized when you have a third or sixth line that, 20, when you're in your 20s, it's just a lot more trial and error happening.
So I think there's certainly different needs that a sixth line in their 30s need, or in their 20s need, than when they're going aloof, when they're like kind of going up on the roof, or they put themselves a little bit out of society in the second phase of their lives. Until
so when the second phase is from 30 to 50 years old, and what do you think the sixth line needs at that stage?
From their partner, I think they need a lot of patience and understanding. They need alone time to integrate and reflect on everything that they have experienced in their wild times.
Yeah. I think they also are looking for, and this is not to say that if you don't have a sixth line, you're not looking for this, but I think for them, the number one thing is to feel that their partner is a soulmate in some ways. For them, like there's fate or there's destiny, at play in some way, shape, or form. Which is interesting because, like, for me, I don't believe we have one soulmate. I believe that we have, many soulmates in our life. Our friend, someone in our family can be our soulmate. And I think that's also interesting for the sixth line as to what they're considering.
Yes, I have the feeling that in the second stage, they really want to only engage into meaningful activities and relationships. Like they just don't have the energy to go, I don't know, go to town and be like on the market, like talk with everyone about daily life or whatever. It's just really the meaningful conversations that they're thriving for. And then they're also, because they have like less energy, I think it is different to, or at least I saw that in my partner, like in this time, they have not less energy, but just they're more in their internal work than in the external outside. And to really have a partner that understands that phase, that it might not be now the person between 30 and 50 who's like working every day 9 to 5 or whatever, because they really need time to integrate it. They just work in a different way. And so they need understanding of their partner. And the third phase after 50, I see that then kind of they're getting off the roof. So what this means is that they're integrating themselves a little bit more into society again. And then they are actually just living their life and kind of talking about the things that they have learned in the phase before. And like this, they kind of are like taking this role model personality in society. So yeah, but I don't have experiences with this phase yet.
Yeah, but I also wonder. Yeah, I don't know.
I can see it in other people who have reached like the 50 or 55, 60 years, and they have the sixth line. So then you can see that also business wise, for example, or like it doesn't mean that you cannot have a business or be successful in your 30s already, but like there is even more like after you have entered that third phase, and people can really see you or perceive your way of living and understand, oh wow, okay, if this person is doing it, maybe I could try it out as well.
Yeah, I feel like maybe when the sixth line is in the third stage, so after like the 50 onwards, they might also need, like in a relationship, a partner who can do something with them to contribute to the world. Like it's not just the two of them anymore, but it's also like, okay, I'm trying to do this to help the world, and this is my mission in some ways. What about you? Like, can we do something together that's bigger than just the two of us to help the world in some ways? Yes. Kind of intuitively feeling into that. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
There's also been this really interesting discussion and debate that I saw in some human design groups saying, who's more arrogant? Is it the 6-2 profile or is it the 4-6 profile? Because they say these are the two most arrogant profiles. And I think people voted on it. And do you want to guess which one was more arrogant?
The 6-2?
The 6-2. Yeah, because the 4-6 got the fourth line, right? Which is a little bit more like, friendly but the 6-2 turned out to be voted as the most arrogant profile.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
It was interesting.
Do you perceive me as arrogant?
No, I don't. But my sister is a 6-2. Oh my God, I hope she's not watching this video. But I think she has a little bit of that energy in there somewhere. But no, I mean, I think if the 6-2 or the sixth line is if they've gone through their trial and error phase, and I think that trial and error phase of their life, like when they're in their 20s, I think it's important because it builds their humanity. Because if they don't go through that, and then they, later on in their life, they become a role model and they become a teacher for others, they will forget the hardships that they went through. They will forget the mistakes that they have made, and then they can come across as being arrogant. But if they've gone through that trial and error, they remember the mistakes that they have made, they had to laugh at themselves, then they may not be like that arrogant type later on.
Yes, that makes sense. That's interesting.
Okay, well, that was a really nice discussion. I really enjoyed talking with you about that. And yeah, I don't know if you have any last messages for the audience at this point.
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter actually which line you are. If you want to be in a like mutually respectful and committed relationship, then you also have to kind of understand that it takes time and energy to invest in the relationship. So it doesn't matter which line you have in your profile. Sometimes we all tend to procrastinate in our relationship because that's just a human mind, no? Like at one thing that seems more familiar, or we think we can deal easier with that, we feel more attracted to this than actually dealing maybe with some hardships or issues in our relationship. So we rather choose to not focus on our relationship, but like set our focus onto something else that is easier to achieve.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that that the easier way is always the best way.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Exactly. And just remembering that the reason why we, have relationships with people is to learn about ourselves. That's part of relating, is to discover more about who you are. And if you don't relate with others, if you don't invest, in your relationships, you never really learn so much about yourself and who you really are.
Yes.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to say to the audience to keep in mind that we are talking today about the lines in regards to your sun and earth, conscious design and unconscious design and conscious personality. So of course you're going to have like other different lines in different planets. So, maybe Venus or the moon is a little bit more related to relationships for you if you're watching this. And maybe you want to check, what's the line for your Venus, your moon, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you, Cindy, for today. And if you guys are watching this and you are interested in getting a human design reading from Cindy or any other readings from anyone on the Tan Astrology team, then do head over to our website and check it out. We would love to be your guides on your self-discovery journeys. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And if you subscribed and you've been following along with us, then thank you so much. We love you all very much and we appreciate you coming on this journey. Yes. So that's it, beautiful souls. Have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.